Honorable Minister, what he was referring to, he was not referring to a law. He was referring to an arrangement. So this is the problem. What the law is saying is totally opposed to your arrangement. That's what Honorable Jatta is trying to tell you. So it means that all that has been happening was a tradition you inherited, but it was not legal. And it is not legal. But that has to stop, because for purposes of accountability, you know, somebody raised a question, and I'm going to that, I'm coming to that too, and I don't agree with that below the line account. The below the line accounts were closed years ago, since I was in that old parliament. We kicked against that, and they were all closed. In normal circumstances, my view is, all the monies that are coming to this country with regard to COVID-19 should be paid into a disaster account that already exists for purposes of accountability, because they are meant for disaster, for relief. And there is an account for that, which is managed by the Disaster Management Agency. So I don't see any need to open a below the account for this purpose, because for me, we have made this unnecessary. Years ago, these accounts were being used to fraud, and that's why they were closed. So if you tell me you are reopening that again, personally, I'm against it. And personally, my view is, any money that is coming now into this country in connection with COVID-19 should be paid into disaster relief account, which exists for purposes of accountability. And my last comment is, the 500 million, like the minority leader was, for me, it's very intricate. We approved of something, and now it has been taken from one place to another. Again here, which law are you referring to? Which is the law guiding that? That also was your arrangement, your regulations, and the arrangements that you make to make that possible. And that is why in the new standing orders we are saying that all such regulations must come to this assembly for consideration, because we want to make sure that they conform to the law. And my view, and generally they don't conform to the law. So, and that's why I'm particularly interested to see, and tomorrow if possible, you say possibly even today by 4 o'clock, I'm particularly interested to see how and where these monies were fired from one sector to the other. Because it's very important for us to know, for purposes of accountability. Thank you. What Mr. Cham said about the daily activities of the bank, fine, that's correct. You don't need those to come here as the bank doing its job. But if you say a rapid credit facility that's going to be charged onto the consolidated funds of this country, people are going to be asked to pay it. And the law says, if you have such a thing, it must be approved by people's representatives. Somebody said grant, the Honorable Minister said he didn't know that grant should be approved here. You said that before, not today, before you said it in the Parliament. Yes, in the plenary. But let me say, why, do you know why there is a need for this? Because you see, some grants can be bets. Some grants can be bets, to use it to get a country in a way you want to get it. And it's the responsibility of members of Parliament to determine that, to say whether we want a grant which is going to enslave us or not. So that's why even that should be approved by Parliament. We should review it and say thank you to the person who is, or the country or the government is giving it, but we must see it. So please, let us accept the fact that before, I said it in Parliament, and I'm sorry to say it again, we had House of Representatives before. But for me, real parliament never existed in this country up till now, until today. They were just doing things helter-skelter. And that we are not in that situation anymore. So that's why the past should be the past. The law is very clear. What she cited is very clear. That is to also is a loan. Rapid credit facility is a loan. It's not a gift. It has to be paid, even if there is no interest rate on top of it. It has to be paid. So it has to be it's going to be charged onto the consolidated fund, which belongs to the people. So that's why it should be approved by Parliament. And I don't think you can convince us to accept a practice which does not conform to the law that she has cited.
I think it would make interesting reading to look at the 1970 Constitution that the so-called House of Representatives was using. Yes.
I have a copy.
I have a copy myself.
Okay.
On the issue about the grants, I'm glad you mentioned it. I've always had this issue with the grants. The Constitution again says all international agreements must be ratified in Parliament. A grant is an international agreement between you or a country or an international organization. That is the reason why grants should come to Parliament to be ratified. And the reasoning behind this in law is you cannot have a National Assembly that is not going to be aware of the finances of the country. If these people have the right to enter into agreements or take loans without our knowledge, how would we hold them accountable? The only way we can know these facilities exist, these loans exist, is when they bring them to us and we have it on our record. Without it, we can't hold them accountable on these funds because we are not going to be aware. And that is what has been happening. Grants will come, National Assembly is not aware. Would we hold you accountable on that funds? It's simple sense to me that these things must be approved. No, they only brought those grants because they had loan components. This is when they were mixed. They are forced to bring it because there is a loan component. Otherwise, they don't bring it, and that it baffles me really. I think we have to sort out this problem because the Constitution is saying if we don't ratify, they are not supposed to spend it. Now these monies have already hit their accounts. What's going to happen? I think immediately we have to solve this problem, whether we are going to invite Central Bank, invite the Minister of Justice, invite the Ministry, let them sit down, let's see who's right and who's not so we can move on, because without it you are not supposed to be using the funds. Would we hold you accountable on that funds? It's simple sense to me that these things must be approved. No, they only brought those grants because they had loan components. This is when they were mixed. They are forced to bring it because there is a loan component. Otherwise, they don't bring it, and that it baffles me really. I think we have to sort out this problem because the Constitution is saying if we don't ratify, they are not supposed to spend it. Now these monies have already hit their accounts. What's going to happen? I think immediately we have to solve this problem, whether we are going to invite Central Bank, invite the Minister of Justice, invite the Ministry, let them sit down, let's see who's right and who's not so we can move on, because without it you are not supposed to be using the funds.